top Jubilee leaders are accusing the opposition of waging political propaganda to confuse Kenyans on the government's role in fighting corruption. Led by Deputy President William Ruto, the leaders claim court leaders are seeking to split the leaders within the government. Masikandie has the details.
The Jubilee leaders pointed fingers at the opposition, whom they accused of using targeted propaganda with an attempt to split the governing coalition, what they say is a ploy by the opposition in politicizing the fight against corruption.
The competition 2017 is between the team of Jubilee and the group of God. There is a big difference between a team and a group. They will need to understand what it means.
Yule jamaa alikuwa anasema tunaigiza sukari, tukifunga warehouse ya sukari ni shida. Juzi kashfa ya BAT huko Ulaya, Senator Wetangula akashikwa nayo. Hiyo sio makosa, makosa ni upande wetu.
We want to tell you those are signs, indicators of those already in a panic mode before the next general election.
The about 30 Jubilee leaders, including legislators, governors and senators, accused the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy CORD of targeting Ruto and URP-affiliated public officials, including the recent corruption allegations within the Supreme Court.
Na mimi nimeona hii ni siasa. Hii mambo ya judiciary na succession ya Chief Justice. Tulikuwa na dada yetu Shole, akafanyiwa maneno akatolewa. Na sasa tunaona wanaanza kukusa mzee ambaye amefanya kazi miaka mingi. Muulize sisi kutoka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, tunawajua wote.
As we ask the judiciary to lead in terms of integrity, let us not see a lot of fixing around the Supreme Court. Na kwamba hiyo fixing mtu anatafutiwa makosa ati ili aondolewe ile wakati ya Supreme Court petition kama itakuwa huko waweze kudetermine that outcome. Sasa hii tunasikia tunoi. Na sisi najua tutaanza kupiga hiyo goma, tunoi aende. Na yule mwenye kupeana, vile dadangu amesema hapa, kwa nini aseme Kidero ni wake? Kwani wewe makosa ni makosa wakati inafanywa na wengine? Wakati inafanywa na watu wa upande wako, sio makosa.
The leaders spoke at the Thanksgiving ceremony of Agriculture CS Willie Bett and Livestock PS Andrew Tuimur at the Kapsabet Boys in Nandi Sunday morning. Masikandie, KTN News, Nandi County.
The Kenya Revenue Authority is spoiling for another round of battle with the two container freight stations linked to Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho. Through a letter circulated to newsrooms, the KRA claims Autoport and Portside have neglected the facilitation of the release of cargo to its owners to avoid delays despite a directive issued to the two depots. KTN's Francis Ontoma reports on the latest from Mombasa.
The Kenya Muslims National Advisory Council met here, seeking to give surgery to a stalemate that has dominated discussions. The council, through its chairman Sheikh Jumangao, says the whole plot to close down the two freight stations is a scheme that targets the political downfall of Governor Joho.
Kama ni kufanya uchunguzi, tunataka tuone uchunguzi ukifanywa kila mahali, kwa sababu hii familia ya governor imeanza biashara hii hata kabla ya governor kuingia kwenye siasa. Na kama ni siasa, watu wakutane kwenye debe. Na sisi kama baraza, hofu yetu ni moja. Hawa ni wafanya biashara, ni matajiri wa Kiislamu. Hofu yetu ni kwamba KRA imeanza kuandamine wafanyi biashara wa Kiislamu.
KRA on its part says it's not backing down and has accused the two container stations of failing to cooperate on a directive to have cargo owners on the two premises evacuate consignments to avoid unnecessary delays. This even as it emerged that KRA sales to the main entrances still remain intact. The revenue body, however, holds that further measures will be considered to enforce the directive issued by the Commission of Customs and Border Control.
Zifunguliwe ili watu mbalimbali waweze kuishi katika mazingira mazuri kwa kufanya kazi ndani ya kampuni hizi.
And getting into the debate for the first time, Senator of Mombasa Hassan Omar is siding with Joho.
All issues appear fairly politicized. Yeah, some of the claims are legitimate, but you see the perceptions of justice is that it must appear to be done. And therefore, I think we want to ensure that there's fairness. Yeah, everybody must be given fairness. You know, nobody must be victimized for any political persuasion or stance that they are holding.
KRA has defended the move to close the 2 container stations, arguing that this was an ongoing process geared towards strengthening governance and deliveries at the freight stations. Francis Ontomwa, KTN News, Mombasa.
The National Assembly's Committee on Agriculture is set to revisit the Galana Kulalu Food Security Project. The committee's verdict on the viability of the project is expected within a week. Issues of concern include the cost of the project and whether Kenyans are getting value for money. Our special correspondent Alex Chamada has more on the status of the project, whose cost has been scaled down by half to 7.2 billion shillings.
The Galana Kulalu Food Security Project, that is situated in 2 counties, that is Kilifi and Tana River counties in Coast Region, was launched on the 9th of January 2014 by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The first phase is the implementation of a 10,000-acre model farm that is meant to showcase how large-scale mechanized irrigation can be done in Kenya with the involvement of the private sector eventually. The government's pledge was to replicate the model farm in order to attain 1 million acres of land under irrigation across the country, according to the National Irrigation Board. It is a multi-billion shilling project under the collaboration of the Kenyan and Israeli governments, initially worth 14 billion shillings and now scaled down to about 7 billion shillings.
This mill would have costed 3 billion and its operation and maintenance would have costed about 1 billion. Also, other component, remember that it's a new frontier, so there are going to be schools as well as hospital and police station. So all those components were removed, which would have costed another 3 billion. So the total cost of reduction is about 7 billion.
Galana Kulalu project is driven more by politics. And that is where the worrying aspect of it comes in.
The cost and implementation of the project is now the subject of investigation by the National Assembly Oversight Committee on Agriculture.
So many issues have been cleared. What we have not cleared and we need to go to the ground is whether they have replanted the 6 varieties to prove. Secondly, there are a lot of equipments involved in these issues. A lot of machineries are involved. We need to see where those machineries are there. We are told that 10,000 acres is ready for planting after this harvest of February. By March, for the April rain, it is going to be in a full scale.
I've also heard and I've also engaged with them, but it seems there was misunderstanding in the first place of the whole concept of Galana Kulalu. And there was perception that it was actually for defrauding Kenyans. Taxpayers' money were going to be lost and sold. But when we went from item to item, scrutinize, see the cost, both locally and internationally, they agreed that actually it's a viable project.
What may have infuriated Kenyans the most, observers say, is the revelation that the initial 500 acres of crop under demonstration yielded only 10 bags per acre, yet ordinarily farmers are able to harvest more than 20 bags per acre. Again, the Nur-led National Assembly Committee on Agriculture says the initial information the committee got on the yields was not complete, that the 10 bags per acre was the average, yet there were 13 varieties under test.
We have come to understand that the best was 39 bags per acre and the best 6 was above 30 per acre.
That harvest comes to a total of 768 tons, which gives 8,500 bags of maize measured in 90 kilogram bags, although the international standards is per 50 kilogram bag. The varieties that were provided by various seed companies, including Pana, Kenya Seed Company, and Monsanto, under the initial test crop of 500 acres, are Pana 7M81, which yielded 39 bags per acre. Duma 43 yielded 38 bags, PH4 35 bags, Pundamilia 529 18 bags, DCK 9089 15 bags, H520 16 bags, and DCK 8031 5 bags. Pana 15 6 bags, HS 13 7 bags, H5 13 5 bags, and Pan 4M21 6 bags.
We immediately planted the second crop which is ready now and is due for harvest at the end of February. The second crop comprises of the top 6 varieties. Out of the 13, we have picked the highest yielding varieties, and we are expecting that this second crop should do much better than the first one. And after we complete the final test run in February, we intend, according to the revised roadmap, to now do the entire 10,000 acres based on the top 3 varieties that will come from the top 6 that we have tested in the second crop.
So it is huge, it is costly, it is an ambitious project whose impact on livelihoods in Kenya could be equally huge if successfully implemented. The Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture that is looking into how the project is being managed says its verdict is not yet final, and that can only be finalized after they make a second visit to the farm. For KTN News, I'm Alex Chamwada.